Ladies and gents, good evening. Welcome to Question Time Live, episode 146. It's been a little while, a bit earlier because of that World Cup success we've been having, and yeah, I think you're going to get a bit of a fresher version. That is for sure. 6 o'clock, big difference in my world between 6 and 7. Let me tell you. Happy days. I hope you are all very, very well. I can see a few of you's got some questions in already. We're going to have a bit of a chat, a bit of a heart to heart about question time at some point in this as well, because I've had some thoughts in it. I'm having a lot of thoughts about the whole content channel, new stuff that we're doing, wanting to do, all the rest of it, but I want all your feedback, because ultimately this show has always been for you. 145 hours worth of it. But yeah, before I sort of had the break because of all the commitments and stuff I've had on, I've got to say the last 2 or 3 weeks of it were feeling tough. I wasn't feeling the enthusiasm coming on, and never want that to be the case. And I think I know why. So we'll explore that in a little bit as well, and how I might possibly look to change it, not necessarily get rid of it, because it's actually been one of the few things I've done that's not being copied. And I wonder why that is, because it's not easier to sit here for an hour having any coy question thrown at you and actually being able to answer it to some degree. Not an easy one to copy whatsoever. So that's that. It's been a very good day at the farm. I'm glad that it's not as hot. That's been a nightmare, and the new recruits are settling in very well. Some of the work going on behind the scenes for the channel with Luke. Luke's doing an amazing job for me. I think it's really going to enable some progression. That's why I'm starting to get excited, because feeling like some of the ideas that I've got can really come to life because of the personnel, and just feeling like it's the time. Systems developing nicely. My God, I've been into that, an absolute treat today. As the lads have been photographing, getting other stuff ready, I've been working through doing end of service reviews, which has been amazing. Just to hear, that response. And it must be nice. You're working away, doing whatever you're doing, and all of a sudden, ping, you've got an update on your fish. Yeah, pretty cool. Loving it. Just to see that all come into life is awesome. Fish are all growing well, looking fantastic. New shipments arrived from Taniguchi while I was on holiday. That's going to be fun, especially his latest new creation. I think is going to be absolutely phenomenal when I get to, and we will share the whole background of it. I've been quizzing him today, actually having a natter, because obviously breeders sometimes do things one year, it never comes again. He has successfully spawned the exact same batch this year again already, which is telling me there's something in there for him. He's enjoying it. So I've just kind of pushed him and gone, what is the plan here? And whether or not he'll be open and honest, who knows? This is koi breeder life. So we'll wait and see. Of course, it is Question Time Live. Please do get some questions in before. I'm going to rip through a few of them before we have a bit of a chat. And see where we go, because there's also another bit tying to one of the ideas I'm going to open to all you guys, and curious to see what comes back of it. I think the big thing I notice in doing all this, obviously the sales direct to you guys has really just took it just up. The level of it is absolutely insane. And, as a business, selling and sales is important. The service is incredibly important. And that's been the tough bit, balancing all of this as we've been building out this new system based on the mania of last year when it started and all the rest of it. But there's always been a big bit of this for me that it doesn't feel the passion and love for making sure I'm sharing and helping educate and teach you guys is massive. And when the pressure of the other stuff kind of takes over that, and it all feels like it's a little bit too much about just the selling, as it is with, let's face it, that's how most of the koi industry is, but it doesn't work for me. I need to feel like there's massive value being given and added, and you know, and there has been over the years. It's probably just how hard I am on myself, but really wanting to do more and just do something that I know is going to add even more benefit. So let's get to that in a little while. And for now, I'm going to start up at the top because there's some early questions coming, and then we'll get back to that. So first one, Ricky, when you're treating your pond for parasites, for say fluke, or using Learnex Pro, do you turn off the backy showers? I don't personally. My stance on this around effectiveness has always been you need to get your dosage right. There will always be arguments for turning filters on and off. I'm saying I don't. I'm more focused on making sure there's an effective dose and I'm not underdosing. Is the bit for me in that one. So, and I'm not even like this drum filter stripping it out, all the rest. I've had all that. I effectively get treatments working and doing. I don't buy it. A lot of them are actually too fine for the drum screens, the bulk of the medication anyway. And you can turn all that off, but the general biological activity in your pond will still have a massive impact on treatments, as they do anyway. So like the method, the day 1, day 2, 50%, day 3, 50%, that is the whole basis of that, because you don't actually know what impact biological activity has had on the treatment. That's a big part of doing it. So yeah, just turning your back shower off, I don't think is the most effective route for doing that. And if you're turning that off but still underdosing your pond, you're still going to get no further down the line. So like I say, people will argue that either way, but I don't. I think you've probably gathered I don't faff or fuss too much. I make sure I get my dosing right, and in that case, treatments tend to become a hell of a lot more effective. Hi, Rick. I've been struggling with cycling a new pond. Started in February. Fishless cycle using ammonia and seeded with established media. 5 months later, still not completed the cycle. Ammonia is converting, but nitrite isn't. Any ideas? Nexus 320, 150 litres of K plus. Total system 2,200 gallons. I'm sure you gave me some other stuff there, Brian, didn't you? pH is 8, KH is 180, temp 72. That's not in the one I work with. Somebody tell me what 72 is in degrees Celsius. And Brian, I need you to come back to me and let me know what your nitrite reading is. And you're saying not cycling. Is your pond producing any nitrate? Have you got a nitrate reading in there? Let me know the bits I need below, and I'll come back to that one. Mickey's here. Good evening, Mickey. Good evening, Ricky. My 2 koi collected on Friday, settled in perfectly. Very, very glad to hear it. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Hi, Ricky. Great to see you back on our TVs. I'm hoping tonight you'll give us a rundown on what you've been up to, including your recent visits to Japan, plans for koi spawn and farm updates. Yes, actually, I'm forgetting the mania of it all. So the trip to Japan, I was tired. I was tired when it got to it, and obviously there was a lot mapped out. There is still a lot. My ambition, dream to become a koi breeder in Japan is exceptionally close. There's a roadmap that I've got, and a big part of that roadmap is that I need to be the business and operation here is absolutely core. It needs to be working and functioning to a level it hasn't been, because it's obviously we're changing all this with the new systems. We were understaffed. We're working through problems. So it needs to be there to a certain degree that obviously it's less dependent on my presence to the extent that it is. And just in light of and things in the mixer, there's a couple of bits in the timeline that I considered in regards to this year. One bit, because obviously when I got there, spawning was top of the mountain. I think you guys knew what that meant to me to do that last year. Now, there's no doubt in my mind I'm going to get where I want to get with all that stuff. It is just, and as I've come to learn with a bit of patience, it's a matter of time. I'm 36, that's right, and it's 36 years old. Have done a lot of learning in all aspects to this point. And as I look at it, if I stay healthy, there's 25, 30 years there to dedicate to that next part of it with all the learning that I've done already. So there's certain things I need now. I learned a hell of a lot from that spawning last year, not just physically about the spawning, about things, ways I'd want to do it, things that I enjoyed, didn't enjoy, and obviously level of maybe control over certain things, influences of other mindsets around me and what they had. There was a lot. And I've constantly analysed that over the period. I've now obviously got my best tatigoi growing here, some in Japan, seeing the results of all that. And starting to understand that I am my own person in all this now with the learning experience I've had, for a lot of years. There's a lot of the guys there I put on pedestals, and I think probably let a few opinions slide in that were not in line maybe with the experience that I've got. There's a lot of people out there I liaise with, and different thoughts on it all has been fascinating, because I've been all of a sudden, I'm like this is new, what do you think? What do you think to this? I've not got a lot to gauge it by. And, you put it out to different people, and it's been interesting analyzing all that different feedback. So ultimately I look now and I'm blown away seeing how they're developing through to Nisai, seeing how I nailed the qualities and in body especially, that I don't believe there's many breeders of Showa, and I don't say this lightly, that developed those body characteristics so quickly. There's a lot of Showa lines I could say are probably better from a pattern aspect and stuff like that, but the characteristics there to be from day one is amazing. And I think what I learned from there is probably the bit that said, patience, because you've got this. So as I got there and spawning was mentioned and discussed, Miss Toyota was sat waiting, ready to go. I actually looked at the whole thing, and I'm not 100%. The males are a big bit I want to change in it. I think will have a massive impact on getting me to and the spawning numbers, not necessarily wanting to use the 3 males, really kind of go about it my own way a little bit more, and looking at the work commitment here and what's still needed in order to get further down the line and get closer to where I want to get properly. The back and forth traveling for me this year, I just thought, what, I'm not ready to commit to it and what it's going to take out, and potentially giving that now for the short term, having more of an impact on the long term. And obviously I have a lot of commitments to you guys. We've still a few bits here that aren't completely finished and up to where we want. A couple of events we're catching up on, although we're getting there. And a lot of it, and new starters in, all the rest of it. So on that basis, I actually decided, and it was a very, very grown-up decision. I don't like making very often, not when it comes to my fish, is not to go ahead with it this year. Just the same as like the NND Mud Pond event I've done for a number of years. What was on offer for it, it's going to be too high of a price point this year that I've seen kind of fail in the past and didn't offer that same level of value. So walked away from that as well. And I'm going to concentrate all that energy into the bigger picture, the progress. The main part of the trip, I'm not going to reveal what that was yet, but it's a big piece in the next steps towards getting established out there properly. So that was the trip. And then I had some, I'm just needing a bit of a break is literally what I had. I barely didn't go to really even many farms. I chilled out in the house. I spent quite a bit of time with Fujo, bit of reminiscing, talking of the future. bits and bobs. And when all them loose ends were kind of done, and what I'd kind of gone there to get boxed off, I jumped on the train. I went and had a couple of nights in Tokyo, which was really nice. And on one of them, I used it as a base because on one of the days I went down to see the maniac that is Mr. Taniguchi. Obviously, another place I absolutely love, as well as the fish that were due for shipping. I have got a number of fish there in Azakari, potential couple of parent fish candidates as well. So it was nice to just catch up at that time of year, especially when I've never really been down there. And he was good. He was in a not in a harassed mood, and that the kind of highlight of all that in the end, after I'd seen all the fish and all the rest of it, was that I got to. He was culling because he'd already been spawning, so I sat literally for probably 2 hours just watching him cull a new spawning of it's a Sankey Kohaku cross that he's done for the first time. So I watched him do that. And then we've been speaking about golden corn, that he'd done the 3rd generation he's moved to spawning. And within that, he actually had a net of them in there waiting to be processed. So he pivoted. He knows my obsession with them. He pivoted, and I got to watch golden corn selection, which was massively enlightening for the best parts of a couple of hours as well. And to be honest, I needed to be. Well, I had to go in the end because I had to get back to Tokyo. It's a hell of a stint there on the train, and I was just wow, and just fed the inspiration even more for where I want to get to with all that. And the biggest takeaway I'll share from that, because there's not too many specifics I can give you, is just how easy it is the availability of koi is very much just dictated by a breeder's mood. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? So golden corn this year, you're primarily going to get it's this new generation, 3rd generation. You're going to get the white, so Ginrin mainly, the white base with the yellow Kanoko, my favorite ones, as they have been from the beginning. And as I'm watching him do all this, there's obviously all these yellow Ginrin ones there. And I'm like, okay, so are these the really original ones? Yes, they're really, really the original ones. Fantastic. And I says, okay. And, is there good ones here? Yeah, many. Okay, what we're doing with them? Don't keep. Okay. Focus this year on the white ones. Sound. So that there is why there will be very little availability of any other types of golden corn, unless he decides at some point a bit later on to do something more. He might. But his focus is those, and they have this just phenomenal level of discipline that I have got to learn, where then it's like, I don't care if there's good ones here. I don't want them. I'm dedicating my space and focus on this. Bosh, they're gone. That is it. But then getting to see him at that size, first call, was just dreamy. And the teaching, he just straight to it and constantly putting, just sharing his insights, putting, exceptional ones always stand out, but presenting them forwards and being able to just have that interaction, ask them questions, has always been the special part of it for me. I've always been lucky that I do force myself into these situations at times, and I always make the most of it. And that was epic. So there's half a chance. I was speaking to him about something else. I'd love him to teach me properly, and I might be tying up a trip there to go and basically do like a week of work experience at Taniguchi this year. But we'll see if that pans out. You never know with Japanese hospitality. Sometimes they say yes, and actually they just mean fuck off, leave me alone. It's how they are. But I think where we're at, there's a good chance we'll get it done if my schedule will allow. So it'd be a bit of a, I got a bit more done and progressed here. So that's where all that's at, Mickey. It was a nice chill time, and it is crazy how their minds work in it. it's that discipline. It blows me because I'm sat looking, thinking, what? You've got this quality golden corn there that you're just getting shut of because, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I think it was since the spawning last year, a big influence it's had on me here has been that level of discipline when I'm selecting here, because Fujo's words ring around there. Ricky, you're too greedy. Yeah, I think you're right. There's a few times now when I'm done selecting and I start looking again and just go, nope, you're done. You're done for a reason. So that's where we are with that one. But yeah, nice question, Mickey. It's just a matter of time. Evening, Tom. SOS people, wow, what a massive difference to the koi it's made. So glad I made the purchase. Fantastic. And I presume, Mick, that's in relation to me sort of saying, get an air source heat pump. It will transform your hobby. I've heard it a lot of times. And then just with any advice I give you, if it involves you spending money on something, I want to know and know when I'm saying it, you will benefit. It will work. So, yeah, important to me, that one. Good evening. Hi, Ricky. Kui wants a fish. Does it have it for the rest of its life? I've read it's not contagious. No, it's not contagious, but it can be very tricky to fully stop and heal up. So, and what you might find is it just becomes an overly sensitive area of color that you kind of get calmed down, never get the color fully recovered, and can flare back up. Not had massive amounts of experience with it. Obviously, I've seen it enough over years and other people's fish, but not a lot of first-hand. Been quite lucky in that respect. Hi, Ricky-san, is there types that don't particularly do well as they get bigger, older with regards to pattern color, etc.? Yes, 100%. A lot of the more Deutz, metallic in that kind of area. And obviously, this is where when they get bigger, this is why you see so few exceptional bigger fish, is because, you know, it's not even just the generics, it's the color qualities of individual fish, what they're genetically capable of. So many variants in that one. Ben, good evening, Ricky. Would putting UV lights in the housing lid of my biological chamber affect the biological side of things, exposing the moving bed to UV light? I don't actually know, Ben, is the answer to that one. There'll be people far more suited to me. You need one of the sciencey guys to answer that, really. I mean, just thinking, what the bit I can shed is those bacteria groups do better in the dark. That is a more prime environment for it. So yeah, I can't answer it. There we go. I do know a person that I'd love to ask. Getting hold of him's not easy, but I think on the basis, I'm just going to go off the basis that, you know, them preferring the dark it'd probably be the better option, and not necessarily sticking a UV bulb in there. It's that close contact might actually create a bit of sterilization, but I'm again don't take that as gospel, because I do know UV, between clarification and sterilization, it actually works on different wavelengths for what it does. That's why you won't get, you know, sterilization necessarily out of a standard clarifier bulb, because they just haven't got the necessary output. Hi, Ricky, can Sumi ever come back on a Ginrin Shiro unless it's genetics, please? Yes. Well, the answer is yes, Sean. Again, as with everything, there's variables, age, you know, genetics, not necessarily with that, because Sumi's complex stuff. It really is. That could be a fish there. And where it's in its cycle, you know, that can be a natural part of the process for it to dip down, come back up, see it absolutely all the time. So just depending, if it's a really old fish and it's gone, then your chances are naturally going to be a lot lower. Right, back to that question. Just finished my 35,000 litre pond with a DVS CL50M filter and added my 15 koi. How much? I didn't even think have I missed the other information from that before? Oh no, it's a different person. There we go. Right, sorry. There we go. 15 koi. How much should I feed? I know the filter needs time to mature. Yeah, that's a big question. Just to throw out there, you new filter. Obviously, you want to take your time. If you are heated, it's going to make a lot of difference, and you're going to expect spikes as you push through. I think the best advice I can give you is initially, without too much science, set like a feeding window, probably of 3 minutes, what they'll clear in 3 minutes. If you're going to feed multiple times per day, I'm talking this as if I had a feeder running, but you might, if you're only going for 2 or 3 times per day, you might want to make it like a 5-minute window, but actually use some form of measure, even if it's just a cup. I've just set a batch pond on the feeder out here, and that's gone on its lowest setting every 2 hours. And monitoring the feed, I like a 5-minute timed window. It's on every 2 hours, 25 degrees. And I was explaining to Nathan and the new guys the other day that, you know, the likelihood is here that this pond, we've got to watch that we don't overfeed it, because 1 bar on them JBL feeders can be quite excessive, but we have got a controlled amount. So, you know, if it was a case that after, say, a week, we tank the water, we could reduce it down by cutting feeds out. But in your case, if you've got a measured amount, you just need to start feeding and see what impact it has. Now, if you get little spikes, expect that. If it's warm, they should clear through quite quickly. Don't panic and back off too soon. That's the mistake a lot make. And feed that for a while, see how you get on. When you've got a base level, if you're feeding it for a while and everything's fine, you can increase it and increase it. Your system will want that consistency to be able to adapt to that feeding level. And that's the advantage right now, actually, with the weather for the guys with unheated ponds. You've actually had the temperatures enough now to have a stable sort of baseline to be able to feed higher levels more consistently, have your filter adapt. But if you're not, it's quite easy and amazing to see that even maybe a couple of days of feeding a bit lower than you up it is how that can quickly create spikes that you might have avoided just by those small incremental gains. So establish a base level that, you know, 3, 5, even if you're feeding a couple of times a day, it might just be, you know, 10 minutes and build from there and see how it does. I hope that helps you anyway. Right, 22 degrees, that pond we were at. That's a good temperature. Oh, here we go. 21 Celsius. Nitrite is tough to read by color chart, to be honest, but let's call it 5 ppm. When I test nitrate, it's consistent. Right, so you are converting. That's you know, you are converting. Your nitrogen cycle is working because you're clearing your ammonia, and you've got a nice stable temperature to be able to build and develop that ecosystem as well. I think for me here, you've got your system's not very old. I think it's going to be normal for you to have that stubborn level there as well. Let me just convert that actually, so I'm not just waffling, because bear with me a minute. PP. Oh, sod off. When did Google really get so shit? Five. There we go. Sorry, folks. Bear with me. Oh, I mean, yeah, right. 5 milligrams per liter is, I converted that wrong, is quite a high reading, but it literally might just be where you're at in that cycle, Brian. So, and nitrite's one of them weird things. You need to kind of max it. It can stay there or seem like it's staying there forever. And then all of a sudden, boom, it'll just fall. I mean, make sure you've got a decent amount of, I think you mentioned your KH reading, didn't you? KH18, you're getting at me in all these different units, aren't you? Anyway, you've got a good amount of KH in there. So we're all good in that respect. I think I genuinely think you might want to look at your flow rates and just make sure you're not whizzing too much water around. That might be really beneficial for you. Other than that, I would say time is just going to be your friend. But the biggest thing I'd look at is just like I say, that flow and making sure you've got a decent retention time. But you are converting. Nitrite is stubborn. The bacteria group in there that converts it is not. It's a very stubborn, slow growing, slow developing one. So and the amount of time you're talking about is not a lot of time whatsoever. So that's as much as I can give you on that one. That's it, Mickey. Although I don't feel it mentally, not even close. I think I'm fucking 56, not 36. Right, next one. Let's have a look. Oh, that's Tom giving a bit of advice there on that one. With regards to flow rates through filters, I have 60,000 litres with 2 bottom drains, so can only pull 20,000 litres maximum through a 4-inch pipe. Yeah, it's under gravity. It's always been fine with pumps at 50%, but with the recent addition of drum filters, I'm finding I can pull flow the pumps, which is 20,000 litres, but work fine on half power. Would you recommend as a flow? I'm not fully flowing. Hang on. Fully flow rates, because on obviously the lower flow rates give better retention time, but there must be a sweet spot between pond volume. Look, I think of a general stock pond, I've always said this, once every couple of hours is still fine for most. I've still got intensely stocked growing ponds that run at those flow rates. If I'm doing it and getting the results, there's no reason for you guys to be chucking water over even faster. It's just madness, and you will get better performance out of your system in general. If you want to max it, once an hour at absolute most, but in the majority of the time, it's just not necessary. And it's crazy. I think too much focus gets put on pulling the bottom drain. Forget lack of sediment. The very best thing you can do with that is to fit the purge, because you still even pulling flat out, you will still get settlement. It happens. Biofilm develops, shit clings to the biofilm, and the force of it is not the same as a big purge, So for me, that is a mentality people need to move away from, is basing everything on making sure they pull the drain really, really hard, trying to stop build up in there, because it will still happen. And a bit of drain sediment, let me tell you, is not going to be the root of all evil. It's just not how it works. In a well-maintained system in general, it'll have very little impact. Saito Kohaku are doing amazing. I have a video sat waiting for me to process through from the day I kind of just sorted them out to move them over to the big pond. And yeah, remarkable, especially the change in the Benny. The video has got a bit of emphasis on colour food, so look out to that. I'll have that out this week at some point. Dave, N&D Mud Pond. Yes, Tracy has got it on a list, mate. She's just been overwhelmed, and I've set her on with dealing with that. So we'll have that line drawn under it soon enough. Yep, absolutely wild, Mickey. It really is. I have a Dainichi Chagoi from the Yellow Monkey spawning, and it's had what appears to be carp pox on its tail, but pond's been 25, 26 for 3 months. It hasn't disappeared. Is it pox? Yeah, I mean, pox, the things they're generally called, there's a group of papillomas which form, and they can be different shapes, look like pox, but not necessarily be the virus that causes pox. There can be others, and there's some strains of that can be really, really stubborn. And it might just be something within the immune system not firing so well that's potentially causing it and not letting it clear up. So, yeah, just remember, it's not all pox related in that respect. I did deal with a fish many moons ago that got a form of papilloma that these things were fucking indestructible. They covered the fins. It was horrendous. So there's a whole group of those out there. After listening to you on heat pumps, there we go. Yeah, and the benefits they give, it was a no-brainer for me. I know the price puts people off, but worth every penny. Thank you very much for sharing that, Mick. Greatly appreciated. Here we go. I feed every 3 hours, 5 times a day. Been feeding 180 grams. Well, there you go. You've got the perfect setup. you just want to, you can just go with those small incremental gains then and keep letting the system bed in at each step. Obviously, if you get to a point where you get your parameters are skewed, especially if you start getting ammonia spikes, you've either gone too far, or if it's a persistent one, you know your system is struggling, and you've got to look at a bigger picture on it. Let's have a look. So I'll get that one. I've been told to bypass my biofilter for 4 days while treating with Flukex. What do you think? Yes, Dave. So I did mention, I spoke about this with showers earlier. I don't bypass anything when I'm treating. I put all my focus on making sure I get the right dose, potentially a retreatment cycle at the right time. That for me is all more important, making sure you're not underdosing and there's treatment capacity. Flukex, I have no experience with. I don't use it. I'm still Learnex primarily if I do. But my treatments with potassium has generally been the bit, and I've got to say, I don't know if it's been the case. Kind of reoccurring flukes for me around here have been such a minor issue this year, and I've used very little fluke treatment because I've got to say, I mean, I'm appalled at the price of it. Even when there's more, cost-effective ways of getting it done, and it's been working. So whether there's some long-lasting effect from the potassium, may well that's doing it, but it's certainly clearing them out of the system more effective. I think the big part of this I like with potassium is it's much easier to gauge the potential impact that it's had because of its visibility in the water, the state between reacted and unreacted. You just get a lot more understanding of the impact the treatment's actually had. Stacey, do you have food brands you recommend for a hobbyist? I've been feeding Hikari Standard. Also, are there any drawbacks to providing coronants in long term? No, not if you're using it. Obviously, if you're using it at excessive levels on the colour food all the time, you might burn out the capacity and pigment in there for development if you do it too soon. But generally throughout their lifetime, until you get the color finished, and when you get it finished, you want to keep it looking vibrant. It's a necessity. You just need to use it right. You don't use it 12 months of the year. It's more of a summer food when temperature is up. So really in the whole cycle, they want about 6 months with that in there. And food wise, I presume you're quite new to the channel, but Saki Hikari all the way. It is the best koi food in the world, and yeah, for me the results are just unrivaled and will never be matched. So that's the one I would be choosing, and it's a lot better than the Hikari Standard. You'll have heard me say it, and it provides balance. I'm not a massive fan of the standard Hikari diets, but Saki is a special one. It really is. DP, how are the Nakami Kohaku doing? Superb. I'm about to roll out the updates and set the dates on the Tancho part of that, and then the other ones are coming after, but they're flying. They're really flying. So there's going to be, they're going to be a lot further down the line as it gets to it. So happy days. Last one here. Now on the topic of food, what color food would I recommend? Saki Hikari, and it's one of them you need the right quality. A good quality color food, the pellet will look almost black because it's super dark green packed with high quality spirulina. That's what it looks like. That's what you want. From what I've seen, it's primarily only the Japanese diets that ever achieve that kind of level. They go all out on it, as the Japanese tend to do with a lot of stuff. So thank you very much for all those questions. So on to this now. I have got into the groove of this a little bit, but like I say, prior to, yes, the Saito Kohaku are flying too. Everything's flying. They've all got wings. They're flying. The last few episodes before the sort of break, I was feeling, because I think my analysis of it since 146 episodes in now, it actually gets to a point. And I've done a bit of soul searching on this. I've actually been watching quite a bit of other content that's out there, just trying to get an understanding of what is out there and the scene at the minute. Got to say, it makes me fucking piss boil on a level unknown to man, generally a lot of what I see. And the vibe of it. Now, it felt like every week was becoming very much a cycle of the same questions. Now, I know not everybody gets on at the same time. And there's only a lot of it, a superficial level I can answer on, like in the case of, who was it here today? Brian's, for example. You know, it's hard to get really stuck into it because Brian's not there for me to pull out all the answers, analyze it, break it down, and advise. So that bit I find a bit frustrating. But then obviously a lot of repetition, and it's likely going to happen after 146 hours of it. There is a lot of the same questions and all that type of stuff there. So it's I think it's to be expected. And then what I've seen is obviously this big shift, and it fascinates me more and more, is that so much content out there now is people jumping on bandwagons with a new product that come out, any new products that come out, new foods that come out, and seeing this fascination for people just to want to jump and buying in to all the hype. And people making the hype, I'm looking at it going, I feel like there's very little credibility behind that. This thing's not had anywhere near enough testing. I mean, in my own case, look at Mountain Tree, the media. I've had it in there for 12 months now. I'm obviously let little hints off of what I'm thinking about it, but by no way are you going to get me saying you need to put this in your system. That's probably going to need another 12 months on from where we are for me to truly get an understanding of it. That's the depth for me, and just the values that I hold in recommendations and stuff. So I'm sort of seeing all that, the jumping on, and then obviously bits of it leaching to here, which I expect to. What do you think of this food? What do you think of this product? What do you think of this? Now, I think you've probably, if you've followed me for long enough, know I've got a philosophy that is baked in. It works. I have no need to change. I am always tinkering, however. I'm always taking in new advice, listening, trying stuff. Just you don't hear about it all, because until something works, till something's so fundamentally that big, I can add it into that philosophy and know. Or I've tried a product and I found it so mind-blowing that if I come on here and say to you, go spend your money on this, away you go. And like with Saki Akari, never let anybody down. Like with the heat pumps, all I ever hear is what a cracking idea. It's been transformational. Like with PSB bacteria, there's so few of them, but that is the reality of the industry as I see it. Most 95% of all the shit out there is just fucking hype and marketing designed to extract money out of your pockets. Now, there's another side to this I understand in the element of the sort of tinkering side within you guys as hobbyists. I get that. I get it from your respect. I don't agree with it. I think you find something, you spend all your time building your experience, finding stuff that works, and you build a philosophy and you stick to it, and you reap the rewards and the success of it. So that's sort of where I'm at. So with that, I found it quite tough that obviously it's like questions are being asked, hoping to get a different angle or a thing. And I've no reason to jump out and try these new products or all this and all the rest of it. Because, I mean, frankly, I just don't give a shit. And I know I've got enough experience after 20 odd years and all the time in my dad's shop and all the rest of it, seeing all these products, is that very little of them stay and hang around for very long. And very little of them actually do anything that adds any value. And if I look at my own koi keeping, which is what I've always shared and passed on as much of it as I can, what do I actually use and do every day? It's very, very little. It's core fundamentals in the water, ensuring that your water is not loused with metals, getting a good fundamental ecosystem environment, and taking that money you're not wasting on all this stupid shit. Put a heat pump on, because having that stability will likely mean you spend less on medications and your pond fighting nature, that whole cycle. So that's there. It doesn't matter what comes out, you get new products. And I think, my idea is if your pond is relying on you having to add something to it every month, every week, then fundamentally there's a core problem in your system that needs fixing. So I think with all that, it was starting to feel like it's a bit kind of superficial. You'll probably argue, I'm wanting to make sure it delivers and adds value, but the energy was starting to feel a bit sapped, I think, because of some of the repetition. And then I've even thought about this on the content, and it's like I restarted making the secrets of koi keeping videos to make them better than they were in the first instance, and it never got fully finished as a series. And so I sat watching back the old ones, and basically it was like, well, yeah, I can't. They're like 3-4 years old. I'm like, oh, that's the same now. We're just doing it slightly differently and updating it. And because you repost it into YouTube, different people will see it. So on top of that, obviously we're doing a lot of live stream work through the platform, tying in some of the sales stuff as well. And just generally feeling quite low energy for the whole question time thing overall. So I think the first question is, how have you guys sort of seen that? Because how I feel and see it might be very different to you lot as well. I'm feeling like there could be more, and I'm gonna move on to that in a minute because I want to go and try this. And I think the thing of doing it every week on top of everything else that's doing, the time of day is becoming a bit of an issue for me just because of how I operate, and it's not my prime time. And I think a few issues I've come on, I'm just like, it's not fair to come on and not bring the energy that I should, because I am just completely shot. So that's quite a big bit of it. So there's a few options here. One I am considering that is to potentially replace this with a different idea that I've got that I think is going to add massive value, but B, not completely collapse this. And actually, like I had attempted to do previously, but now I've got all the new tech, is fold a segment of question time into the Sunday Night Live show. So it's not completely abolished. We keep a small amount of it there and see what happens. So few ideas, but the general one I've got, and this is what I really want your help with. I've had an idea, and I get a lot of people reach out to me looking for advice when they've got problems with their ponds, general stuff. Now, there was even one the other day, and I just had to politely say I can't get involved in this because I know the time it takes to get your teeth stuck into it and do it properly. Because once you sort of commit to helping someone, I think you need to see that through, help it come to fruition. And I've generally not got the headspace to do that at the level it comes through. And I don't like to just do it, on that basis where only one person benefits. Because I think if that time is being given, then there really is a chance for others to learn and help and gain knowledge from a problem being solved, that there might be a lot of relatable stuff in there. Obviously, that happened with Martin's Pond. The documentary was a huge case, and I think so many people learned so much from that. But obviously not everyone is to that extreme and extent. So on that basis, I'm wanting some cases to get stuck into to try something. Now, this is going to be free of charge. There will be some involvement because you're going to need to at some point either have your voice heard or be on a video call with me or something along that lines. But there's an offer here of help and assistance. If you're watching this, you're struggling with something in your pond that you really can't get to the bottom of, and you would like some in-depth quality advice and diagnosis, then please reach out to me at ricky@koiretailservices.com. Tell me what your issue is. Give me as much context as possible. And I'm not saying every one of these is going to get touched and dealt with. I want to just see, first of all, what kind of comes through, what there is to get stuck into, and how willing people are to. The big bit of this is, in order to get the help, it will need to be shared. So that's the one I want to share it all out so people can, at the end of it, there's some content there that you guys can watch and hopefully see this from start to completion and learn from it. Oh, frozen. That's the general idea of it. And what it will allow is for me to do like cases that come on that I can only get on superficially on here, can actually get more in depth and involved in and piece it all together. Use Luke's talents at stitching content together to make something a bit more in depth, and potentially then move a segment of Question Time into Sunday Night Live. Sunday's a bit better day for me because I've generally been chilling a lot more. The day's not caught up with me. I'll no doubt had a midday nap. Yeah, happy days. So it might do it. And I'm not completely saying I'm abandoning Question Time whatsoever. I think the big thing is it was so consistent and reliable for a time. I don't think I can necessarily keep up with that bit as it stands at the moment. So open to all your feedbacks on what you think of that. I'll reiterate again, if you have got a pond issue of any sort that you can't get to the bottom of and it's driving you mad, and you'd like potentially some free advice, send me an email in depth as you can to ricky@koiretailservices.com, and I'm going to assess them, review them. Say it won't be all of them. I've not got infinite amount of time. We'll have a look, and I will obviously ultimately decide what I think people could gain the most amount of value out of as well if we get stuck into it. And if there is decent demand there for that, then it will give me a chance to actually have a look and put into practice an idea I've had for quite a while. Marie there's saying, great idea, hopefully reduce the repetition. Yes, but everyone gets help in one hit. That's sort of the thinking. Joe, you've got another issue. Never did video for your last one, did we? Yeah, that's sort of my thinking, is that a lot of this stuff with me is so core and fundamental. Once I've said it once, it'd be best kept in a place where it can just be rewatched at your leisure, so to speak. So yeah, that's the bit. I do love the live interaction, but obviously we're doing it on the Sunday night as well. And typically when Cole gets into Swinger Tech and his laptop properly, in fact, done it again now, look, laptop's on there. If I'd have rung him and says, Cole, I need you on here, we'd have been screwed. So yeah, that's ultimately ideas being banded around because is that legit, Joe? Sorry, I'll just you can all see the chat anyway. But so before I sign off here, because we've got a bit of time, and I'm not going to keep going over all that bit. I will at the end. Are we legit now, Joe? Because I'm gonna share bits of this now. If you're telling me we've finally cracked it and you're a happy koi keeper once again, so let me know before I vanish, because I like getting stuck into some of this stuff because most of it can get solved. Yeah, Matthew, there, I would definitely like to get involved doing that. You helped me out a few weeks ago, managed to sort the amount of sparks, etc. Yeah, there we go. This is the sort of stuff, and I think ultimately it's going to be a case that there's so much repetition in this, right? That it'll be a cracker, I think, and maybe we can, as always, mix some different ideas up into it. So in the case here, it's cracked. Joe's case. I mean, fucking hell, Joe, you drove me mad for ages. And go on, just one more bit before I do it. So are we saying that my gut instinct was right? That's the bit I want to know in all this. Joe, I mean, amazing pond. Got on to me a while back, was buying some pretty amazing fish, but I think has pretty much packed it up twice because of this repeated issue with pinking up fish and flashing, just aggressive flashing on and on and on, and not really ever stopping. And after being convinced by loads of different things, water, potentially being the quality of the water round there, and all these different bits and bobs, I looked at it and went about. I've got a systematic approach to a lot of this stuff of ticking it off and just going a bit deeper than a lot do. And of course, you've got to start eliminating some of these higher level problems. So laboratory water testing, and then putting systems in place. Put the recirculating Big Blue system on. And then in the end, that actually still didn't crack it. And it was at that point I was shocked. And obviously started then looking towards the fiberglass. And I can't remember at what point this was. There you go, look. And I was, because I've dealt with it in the past, there was another case in a very special pond in Kent I managed from afar, and just symptoms. When you see something, sometimes that's all it takes. And I knew with the pond in Kent, these fish had real thick, heavy mucus. Despite being functional, they were alive. There weren't massive parasite problems, but there's just no luster on them because you've got the mucus turning opaque, which is telling me it's overproducing it massively. And I looked down, and obviously you've got the algae coating, but I could see these massive patches in the fiberglass. And just then it starts. I looked at that, I thought, shit, this pond runs a trickle. And I actually investigated the trickle. There was fucking mass amounts of water being flooded through. Eventually got a water meter on, and I'm like, holy shit. So A, the chlorine was potentially an issue there because it weren't the rate the carbon would have been burning out. But then B, it was actually probably the case that the amount of water, I think, was saving the problem here. It was a shit fiberglass job. And I'm telling you now, it's very hard to prove it because the level of testing you'd have to have done to prove the toxicity will cost thousands, and you'd have to keep going and going and going. But that aside, it was gut instinct. And as I watched this, I said, this needs to change. I really started looking then, and there were just fucking massive patches everywhere. And I'm like, there's something wrong with this fiberglassing. And I had a feeling that if it hadn't been for that huge volume of fresh water, that the fish probably would have suffered death. I think that would have been the extent of that one. So you take that learning, that whole pond got refiberglassed professionally. There was an absolute fucking idiot who'd done it. Know the guy, and yep, he's an idiot. And that got redone properly by Denby Koi Ponds. And ever since then, the trickle's been corrected. It's been glorious. The mucusing was fixed. Bosh. Fantastic. I mean, you talk about the idiocracy. The same guy who done the shit fiberglassing on this pond and put all the fucking RO and everything this on that was never managed properly because, you know, he told the owner he got hard water. His water was excessive. His water's fucking fantastic, let me tell you. We are it all. So that was that, and you learn. It's not the first time I'd seen that over the years, but yeah, you get it. So then in Joe's case, you know, we're ticking all these things, and I can't remember. I think it might have been when I'd been over once, dropping that mental male shower off you had once upon a time, or he'd sent me something. I'd been looking and noticed this specking, these spots in the fiberglass that weren't right. And yeah, I mean, in the end, once we'd eliminated so many things, obviously Joe lost his head a few times, right? And I get it, you know, when you can't cure, you're just going on and on and on. So he's going back to the company who fiberglassed it and being convinced that everything's great, which is typically what happens in it when someone's done a job. They're not going to turn around and go, yep, no, we fucked up. Very rare. Is that the case? I love a bit of that. I've had one of them today. Phone a customer, right? I fucked up. Love it. But anyway, that aside. So in the end, I believe what's happened is decided, because he packed the pond up, very, very sad to see, stripped it all out. And as it's been stripped out, I think started jet washing it, which I think is some advice Paul at Denby had given to him, because I'd asked him to reach out, because, you know, the guy, I love the guys at Denby. Paul is about as fucking genuine as they get and knows his shit when it comes to fiberglass. And it's done nothing from what I can gather, just top coat peeling off, which is potentially then, is that just a top coat problem? Is the fiberglass actually cured properly? Is it leaching? Who knows? But ultimately, gut instinct was right. It's sat in there in that. Now, I don't know where it's exactly ended up, but once that's all been blitzed off, refill, and it's been glorious ever since. Now, I know it's not full of the details, hence why I think it's wise that, you know, when I start getting involved in this stuff, I actually get it documented properly, so at the end of it you can see the whole process that's been through. There is a bit of metals there still, but obviously kit will be in place to deal with that. That's easily done. And it's just amazing to see, because it genuinely makes me sad that that stuff, that everything's curable when you know how to diagnose and get through it step by step without just emptying people's pockets. And from an objective standpoint, when I've got nothing in the game, as in I'm not supplied any equipment, I'm not on the hook for anything, it's easy to just see it for what it is and find the problem. So I'm very happy to hear, mate, that you're now back at it. Obviously, in the case of Martin's on the documentary as well, he's recently had another delivery, and that's just all flourishing. So, yeah, I think be well worthwhile. So just to reiterate again, if you are having some POM problems, please email me in, ricky@koiretailservices.com, and fill me in on all the information as much as you can. Again, not promising everyone will be dealt with. That's not going to be real. In the end, I'll look at this case by case and just see what, is going to provide the maximum amount of value. And based on what comes in, I'll assess and see what we can potentially do with it. But I'm up for committing a parcel of time to this for the greater good, and it'll be nice to get stuck into it. So there we go, and it is absolutely my pleasure. I think there was a bit of counselling in that role as well, but I get it, guys. It is frustrating as fuck, and what we don't want, the hobby needs growth. It needs people. You don't need people leaving because of stuff that can be solved. Because of people getting, absolutely ripped for shit equipment, having poor experiences. And it's just equally as important that the new people coming in, we nurture them as an industry as much as possible, that they become successful koi keepers and stay. It's a really rewarding hobby when it's right, but I just think, keep it simple. There's far too much overcomplication and absolute shite. Obviously, there's always opinions in everything. I think we're at a point at the minute where there's far too many opinions that are not backed up by any credibility, first-hand experience, or enough know-how, but they're still getting banded around. And again, that's happened forever. It's always been the case, but I don't know, it seems a bit more prevalent. So, yes, there we go. Feel free afterwards, share any thoughts on that, and I look forward to receiving any emails that do come in and seeing what we can do with that. And one last one before we go is that there is a big new series that I'm working on that's actually not too. Obviously, my channel's been very, very intense in knowledge and learning and all the rest of it. I'm actually going to be setting this series up on a completely new channel. That the whole thing is just, it's there for enjoyment. It's going to be there for some enjoyment, entertainment, some fun. There'll be learning, there'll be all sorts in it along the way. And I must say, Luke has really shown his talents here with how he stitched this together, because it's something I'd been trying to figure out how we could do for a couple of years previous and never got a head around it. And actually at the point where he's already working on episode 2, which is amazing. And then the very last one, actually, I nearly forgot. So obviously Taniguchi shipment was last week, and on Friday I've got a huge shipment of the wonderful Tamasabas arriving, all me stash from NND. And this is all we've got the Kawari type, we've got the standard sumo line, red and whites, the new bloodline, and the new variety that has been cooking up as well. And on top of that, we've got some of the Shishi Dama coming from Saito as well. It's a big goldfish shipment, and I can't wait, because my God, I've had people pecking at me for ages, but I've not had the space, and it's still going to be a right old squeeze. But yeah, happy days. So plenty more to come. There you go, Mickey. Emma just walked in as you mentioned Tamasaba. Happy days. Yes. Oh, there we go. So I missed that from Chris. Ricky, go for it. Did think the edge had gone. You burn the candle at both ends. Fair play. You're right. The info is all there to find in the back issue. Yeah, and I think that can be worked through, can't it? Many thanks for all the advice I have. I now have a working pond. Amazing. Oh, sorry, I missed another one here. Right, last one. Ricky, who has the best Ginrin shower to grow from Tosai? Yeah, that's getting an harder one to answer. Hero is a fantastically stable line. I think numbers are diminishing. Taniguchi is one of my favourites. Very hard to get, but he is working on a new shower line at the minute, and I suspect Ginrin will come through from that the more he's stabilised it over time. And probably Kibi is my one. I was sorting my Kibi pond out the other day, and the Ginrin I've got in there, he is right up there for me with the Ginrin shower and what he's doing with those at the moment. So, but not easy to get such a small farm. Right, there we go, ladies and gents. It's been a pleasure. I'm not saying what's happening next week or where we're going to go. I'm going to give it another coat of thinking, but let's take it all step by step, week by week, and go from there. And I look forward to seeing what comes through my inbox. To be honest, it should be pretty cool. So what's that one from Joe? I took a lot of advice from your vids, and so far my pond's good, nothing major, and I'm only 5 months in. That's awesome to hear. That genuinely is, because a lot of that was really aimed at people such as yourself to really nurture and hope you succeed in the hobby from those early stages. So glad to hear it. Right, that's it, folks. And yes, is it coming home? I gotta say, this is as hard for me tonight as watching when Barcelona, that prime Barcelona team, when Messi and all the boys was fucking destroying Man United, because being a Man United fan, I always admired how Barcelona was, and I'm a huge Messi fan. So, of course, I'm rooting for the lads, but I just got to say, I just admire that guy, watching what he's still doing. So, yeah, come on, England. There we go. Enjoy the game, ladies and gents, and I will catch you all